What's up, guys? I decided to make another video, this time on Bleach. The video is finally here. I just finished it a few days ago, and I really love this series. I enjoyed it so much. I haven't really watched it since I was a kid, and I've never finished it. I only watched up till, like, early on in the first, well, I guess the second arc when they go to save Rukia. I think I got to the point where he was fighting the bald guy for the first time. That's literally as far as I got. But anyway, so I'm watching the series, really enjoying it. I did make that video about Bleach filler that was annoying me, um, which I was going on. There's more filler. It wasn't as bad. I was just kind of pissed off at that point. I think I went a little too hard on it, but it was just there was too much filler, and the show would have been like 10 times better if it had less filler, or at least like the filler had some canon stuff mixed in, or or it could have canonically happened because, like, they just put the story in there in the middle of, like, the Aizen battles and shit, so it was ridiculous. But anyway, going back to the show, I can't really think of anything I really hated about the show, hated a character or whatever. um Probably, like, if I had to pick a biggest, like, not character that I hated, but like biggest problem with the show I want to mention real quick is, like I said, I just finished it, and they left so many unanswered questions that I was like, what the fuck? Like, where's the answer to these things, right? So, real quick, a little bit of a spoiler for Bleach, A Thousand Year War. I know that Ichigo and Orihime end up together. I've known that, basically. So, at first, I've heard people say, like, that's, like, the worst ship ever, or whatever. Like, not worst ever, but, people want him and Rukia together. I'm pretty sure that, that's what they want. And they actually got me to go with Ichigo and Orihime real quick. I'm going off somewhere else, but either way, whatever. Um, and I ended up completely, like, enjoying their relationship and shipping them more than Rukia and him. Even though, I could still do both, but that episode where she's leaving and she says goodbye to Ichigo is like one of my favorite, like, episodes of the series, where she's like, I wish I could have had 5 lives, born into 5 different families, but in each life I would have loved the same person, you. Incredible, like, actually got me emotional. um so I really enjoyed that, and that kind of won me on the side to Orihime and him. But in the show, they never get together. Like, I thought at the end, like, the end is very rushed. I think, like, it could have used like a few more episodes, like, just to wrap some shit up. There's, like, so many, like, open threads. Like, they never explain Ichigo's dad. Like, never. They even say, like, he's like, okay, you can tell me when you want, when you feel like you can, but then they never do. And it's like, you can put some shit together. Like, I don't know exactly, like, where the dad. I feel like the dad worked for the royal family or something. That's why nobody knew him. Um, he obviously gave up his powers to, like, get the bong, to get the final form like Ichigo did, and then he got him back somehow. So that stuff, it's like you could put together yourself. But it's like, to not actually do that is like the stupidest shit. Like, where I was actually pissed off at that. Um, so I just really wanted to mention that because that's like such a, like, why, like, they tease that, and it's like just never get an answer. But anyway, yeah. So I'm trying to think of what else. I don't really have any other, like, huge problems. That was just a big one for me, but I still really enjoyed the show. I like basically all the characters. I can't think of one I really hated except for some of these villains where it's just, like, annoying as fuck and they drag on too long. Um, I don't know, those fucking Arankar, like, villains were like such pieces of shit. I was like, how are they gonna get past this? Because, like, they're getting their ass beat. Everyone's getting their ass beat. I'm like, okay, well, Ichigo, you gotta break through and find something else now, right? And he doesn't, and then Kampachi shows up, and they got, Mayuri and, I forget, the lady's name who heals. Um, and then they all show up, and they're like, they help him. So that was awesome, like, really cool. I ended up really enjoying, like, that arc was probably, I don't know if it was my favorite of the whole show. that like went on for very long. I think that's the reason like I was thinking about the filler, and it's like they really couldn't have like I guess put it in like where it was canon because the feel like that arc is so long that it's like there is like no point for it to be like okay, this happened between this and this. Like no, they're all it's all happening at the same time. So that was something where I was like, I don't know, it was just so good. It was so good. Aizen is like top not top 10 anime villain, I don't know, but he's high up there. Like he is so fucking good. Like it's such a piece of shit, like so calm all the time. You just want to see him get his ass beat. And it's like what he does to Momo is so fucked up. Like it is so fucking foul, like disgusting. I'm like, you fucking bitch, you absolute bitch. And when Momo shows up to fight the three Arankar, like females, that shit was like, are you kidding me? Like I would, like she's still wearing the badge. I was like immediately concerned that she was like gonna betray him at some point because of that, because he so fucking mentally just destroyed her. So that was something where I was like, okay, like I was a bit worried, but they never went anywhere with that. She just gets her ass beat. And then the Yamamoto like beats the shit out of those women. Like he is OP. He's OP as shit. That was pretty sweet. Seeing him beat ass is pretty cool. Like I don't know, it was just interesting seeing like how because he like sat through a lot of the shit and he didn't do anything. I guess it was to save his energy, but it was like people were straight like like getting killed whatever, and he did absolutely fucking nothing. So I was like, that's crazy that he did that. But he was awesome, and I thought it was really cool how he ended up like destroying his arm to try to kill Aizen, and he still failed. And then Ichigo shows up when he breaks through the wall. That shit was cool as hell. With Kaname, I actually kind of hated Kaname. Like up until the end, they did give him like a good thing where it was like, this is why. Whatever. If they showed that like he somehow was manipulated by Aizen, because Aizen's just a master manipulator. Um, that would have made some sense. But like him just being so fucking full of himself and justice, justice, justice. It's like okay, fuck you, dude. Like you literally like have killed innocent people. You've done fuck shit. Like you're a piece of shit. Like where is Aizen's fucking where's the peace? Where's that gonna come from? And then at the end, he's kind of like him and the dog guy, which once again, like that's something I was like, where the fuck are we gonna get an explanation for that? Because there's no other creature like that. So it's like, is I don't know, like the person's appearance just like fuck a dog or something? Because what is the exact reason for that? So that's just me like just going out like randomly thinking, but I'm just like that. There's nothing, no other person like that. So that was something where I'm like, okay, but yeah, him, in Kaname, and then he dies. Like the way he dies was so weird, just because he fucking explodes, and they don't show like, and he's like Aizen, but it's like you don't see Aizen fucking do anything. It's like, what? Why wouldn't you just show him like real quick, like beating his shit, like like breaking his neck or something, and then speeding back to where he was? I don't know, but it was like that was really weird to me, where we didn't even see that. It's like, how the fuck do you know it's Aizen? Like this dude just fucking exploded, basically. So yeah, so that was something. Um, yeah, those battles were so good. Like they were so good. Um, Another one of my favorite characters was Kisuke. At first, I kind of thought he was gonna be like a villain, like towards the beginning when he kind of like does Rukia dirty and gives her, the gi guy with it with the what's his name? The circle thing. Ridiculous, but he was so cool. Like just this calm, kind of collected guy. Got the bucket hat on, clean, clean look. Um, Him and Yorichi, like their relationship is really good. I couldn't tell if I think they're just friends. I'm not sure about that. There could be something more there. There was like no romance in this show though, which really fucking sucks in my opinion. Like I'm a huge fan of romance. That's why I wanted Ichigo to like end up with Orihime at least, like something like that. Cause it was like, dude, like I just want some romance in here. Like throw me some shit, on the side. Like it's not the main piece, but give me some on the side. Um, so that was like kind of a not a huge, like negative for me. It was just like especially when they tease some shit they should go through with it. But yeah, so anyway, that was like separate, but yeah, so Kisuke is pretty cool. Yororichi's awesome. I love Yororichi. Um, Revealing that it's like a woman, like the cat had the male voice, whatever, was pretty interesting. I knew about that. I do remember knowing about that. But that was it's just cool, like cool character. Um, Trying to think of her name, Soy Phone. She was actually probably my least favorite character. If I had to pick one, now that I'm thinking about it, if I had to pick one and be Soy Phone, I don't hate her completely or anything like that, but it's like she's kind of like annoying. Like I said in my Spy X Family video, basically her entire personality is like Yuri, where it's like my sister, my sister, my sister, but for her it's like it's Yororichi, and it's like obviously I couldn't tell at first if it was like some actual just like adoration or there was some like she loves her like um, you know, like that. But yeah, obviously she loves her like in a romantic way, but I really don't think Richi's like that. She basically said, you're like a little sister to me. But either way, so that was somewhere it was like, constantly and that episode like those 100-year flashback episodes, she was annoying the shit out of me with Kisuke, where she's just, like, oh, he's a piece of shit, he's this, he's this. I've been following him around doing all this stuff. It's like, get back, bitch. Like, whatever. But and then basically she just do like whatever Yorichi asks of her. So it's like she really like was super strong. And then as soon as Yorichi comes back into the picture, she'll do whatever the fuck she says. So, but her and her subordinate, that fat fuck, I can't remember his name, was pretty funny, and it did seem like she actually cared about him, and that was like a big thing for me, where I was like, okay, I like that. Even though she treats him like shit, I was like thinking like, how the fuck is this guy like her lieutenant? Because all the other lieutenants are pretty cool, basically, and then you got this motherfucker like who like just does nothing except eat, basically. And then when he had his battle, and it was like, okay, this is just a joke. And then they kind of pull some shit out where he's like, oh, okay, he does this, and then he tries to save her, and then he finally beats the fucking guy. But they're just like talking shit to each other, like you fat ass, like whatever. It was just really funny. But yeah, so she's probably my least favorite character. But I'm not saying she's bad either way. Just something like where if I had to pick the least favorite one, that's it. Um, I'm trying to think if like I had a favorite captain, who would that be? I'm not 100% sure on that, but going back to like things I liked, I really like the early story of Bleach, like the early thing. It feels really different to what the show becomes later. And the end of the show almost felt like a different show to me, but then I realized like it really just went back to the beginning. Um, because you're so used to this huge ensemble cast at this point, all these characters, and so to finally like go back to just the human world and just a few characters and what they've been doing was really different. Um, yeah. So I'm just trying to think of like there's something else I wanted to mention. Oh, I want to mention the intros. Why do the intros suck so much ass? Like the first intro fucking slaps. I think the second one slaps too. The second one I like is where they're fighting up to her in the tower or whatever. That one was cool. And then the one where I mentioned this in the filler video where they go to the you know the place where the Hollows live. Forget the name. Um, and he, it's still one where Ichigo has the mask and he like jumps towards Aizen at the table with the sword and he's smiling and then the mask dissolves. That was a cool one, and that was probably the best last one. Like other than that, these actually fucking suck. Like I skipped every single time. Like why? Like you had such a fucking fire on that first time, and then they just lost it and lost it, and it got worse and worse. And then there'd be one that wasn't as bad, but then it get worse again. That one like where it's like the girls Orihime and Rukia dancing is like stupid as fuck. Like I just hated that one. And it was in the middle, like it started off in the middle of, like a serious moment. It's like you get this shitty ass intro and it was like, okay. I just really like that's probably was my least favorite point of the series, where it's like you had such a banger intro. I'm just gonna keep saying it. Like that's one of my favorites. The first one is so good. And the visuals weren't all bad in like the intros, but just the songs were terrible. But yeah. So anyway, so going past that, Renji, I really like Renji. I feel like he had the most not character development, but it was like when you first see him, like I don't even know like if the like he basically is nothing near what you see later on. Like I feel like he was literally about to kill Rukia. He didn't give a shit. So I feel like that like it wasn't originally planned for him to be that big of a character. Like I could be wrong with that. That's just my opinion, but it just felt like he really like he didn't hate Rukia, but he didn't care about her, and he's this huge asshole. And then you see, in the flashbacks, really did care about her, and when him and Ichigo fight, that was so cool. And he's like, save her. That was such a clean fight. Him and Renji just like grows on you after that, and it's like they become friends. Ichigo and him become friends. It's like Ichigo is just so fucking so cool, basically. Like I love Ichigo, obviously my favorite character. I want to mention also though, real quick, I want to complain about the packaging. So I got this one's actually going back because it's like destroyed, like none of the discs are holding, whatever. So I got a replacement, but these covers fucking suck ass. Like, no, I don't even mind like the single character, on the thing, but it's like I want one with Chad, Uryu. Like, I don't want this motherfucker here, dude. Like, I don't. So give me some good shit. Like Aizen, I get that, all these other characters, whatever. But like these fucking villains, it's like I don't want them. I want I want Ryu and Chad, bro. They're fucking cool as hell. So anyway, but yeah. So I just want to mention that before I forgot. Trying to think what else I really liked. The Hollow shit was so cool. Like Ichigo becoming a Hollow and like the Hollow powers were pretty cool. A question I had afterwards was he lost, his Soul Reaper powers, whatever. Did he lose his Hollow powers? I'm assuming he did. But then the question goes, did he get them back when he got the, Soul Reaper powers back? Which I really, like I said, I really like that last arc. I'm gonna be jumping back and forth. I'm gonna try to think, like I'm probably gonna think of things between the beginning and the end that I forgot to mention, but that ending arc. At first, it started off strong, and I'm like, okay, this is really really good. I'm enjoying this, and then it slowly, I felt like kind of dipped, where I was like it's dragging on a little long. Like the way he's getting his powers is kind of boring, and then it picked back up again. And that villain, when he like mind controls everyone into like believing that he's like a person, a big part of their lives. Like that shit was so fucked. Like that was like some villain shit. Like it's like I don't know. Like I've seen like when villains do some shit like that. Like when they show up. Um, I can't even remember the exact issue, but there's like an issue of the Amazing Spider-Man, like early, not early run, but like something like that. Stanley wrote, I think, and Peter Parker goes home, and then like Norman Osborn is there having dinner like with his family or whatever, like some shit like that, was so fucking crazy. And then he's just like freaking out. I'm like, yeah, I feel so bad for this fucking guy. Then he runs out. His boss from work, which is like they just threw that bitch in there. Like you don't really know anything about her. Like there was a time skip, but I just felt like that was weird. And then she's mind controlled, and then there's just the other guy, like the main execution member. I forget his name, which was he was so cool, and I literally was dumb as fuck because I was like, at first I'm like, okay, this dude's gonna betray him. Then it kept going on, and I'm like, okay, this dude's gonna betray him. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I don't think he's gonna betray him. And then he betrayed him. But they did it very well, where it was like even he didn't know he was gonna betray him. He was just mind controlled, like by the dude to think that he was his enemy. So that was some shit where I was like, okay, whatever. Um, but that was cool how he ended up being the main villain, and then they reveal that all the people were working to try to get Ichigo's powers back. That was so cool to me because like it is true. Like they kind of treat him like shit sometimes. Like where it's like if you, especially if you watch the filler, and they'll be like, oh, he just the arc in between like when he defeats Aizen and when he loses his Soul Reaper powers, and they're just like Ichigo, like he saved us, but that doesn't mean he's immune or whatever. And it was like go ask him first. Don't go to arrest him. He's earned that fucking right. Like I don't know why the fuck you're gonna believe that he did all this shit after he literally saved your fucking asses. But that was so good because Rukia, just leaves. And I'm like, damn, that shit kind of hit hard. Where it's like, I haven't seen her in forever, whatever. And then he's back to being a normal human, and everyone else has their powers. And I'm just like, damn, like Ichigo's like, he just wanted all this power to help. And I wasn't sure if he was gonna get his powers back or if he was gonna, be okay with it. And then, he gets those powers. I forget what they're called. Um, by using the Soul Reaper badge. which is weird. I don't know. Like, it was just weird using the Soul Reaper badge, and then it becomes like a sword or whatever, and he got an outfit. And then there was that bitch, and she was like Dirty Boot. That was shit was ass. Like, come on, like a better name than that. Dirty Boots. Like the dirtier my boots get, the stronger I am. That shit was like the worst fucking power I've ever heard in my goddamn life. Like, yeah, she becomes strong, but it's like Dirty Boots. Like, come on now, come on now. And she ended up being cool though. Jackie was like not a real bad villain or whatever. Her and Renji's fight where he ends up like he's like I'm not gonna fight you, and then she like tries to beat his ass, and he basically just like fucking swats her. And is like I'm not gonna fight you, and then she ends up like sacrificing herself to get them out of there. But it turns out she's all right, so that's good. I'm not like oh she should have died, whatever. Yeah, so that was something. Those powers were kind of like weird, but then when like I said, when everyone like goes there and it's like they give him his powers and all the captains like put their spirit energy into it, and Kisuke was working hard on it, and it's like that is true because once again like Ichigo did like everything for everyone else, and it was like. Like I didn't think like they abandoned him or whatever, but I just wasn't sure like what the fuck was going on. Like I feel like they should have told him because he was going down like a dark path, like helping these people. He didn't know that. I thought immediately we're gonna be villains, but I did the same thing with the the visors, where I was like, okay, well they're obviously gonna be villains. Like he's gonna leave with them and they're evil because just the way they introduced them, it was like okay, like they look like they're gonna be villains, but they weren't, and they were pretty cool. Oh, that girl, can't think of her name. The girl with the pigtails and the snaggletooth. She was really cute. And Shinji, I think that's his name. He was cool. I just thought he was a villain. Like for her, 100%, I thought he was a villain in the beginning. But going back to that, so anyway, so it's like when they give him his powers back, that shit was so hype because in that moment where he's like, he's fighting, he's all by himself, he has nothing, like nobody believes him, whatever, and he just does that scream, that voice actor, that shit hit me. I was like, damn, like that fucking like scream like and crying was so good, and I was like, damn, that shit hit me hard because it's like yeah, like his entire family, like, and then Chad or Evie, like they're fighting against him, like they're actually fighting against him, and they finally get their memory back, whatever, after Ichigo defeats the guy who was the first substitute Soul Reaper. And I also want to mention Byakuya. I fucking didn't hate this guy, but I didn't like him, and like he really does a turnaround. And at the end, when he's like, you're not if any enemy of the so of Ichigo Kurosaki is an enemy of mine, was like where he just like kind of I think just completely like respects him, and you know all that, like that was like a huge turnaround for me where I was like okay, I really like Rocky. And also when he helps him get to Waco Mundo, finally remember what the place is called, Rukia and Renji when Orihime is kidnapped. That was some shit where I was like okay, like that shit was so well done, and I was just like he's really turning around for the better. But that end bit where it was really just like showing kind of respect for Ichigo was a big moment for me where I was like okay, I really like him, and then he just fucking kills that dude. Like, well actually no, he doesn't kill that fucking guy. That shit was like you should have killed. Like, there's so many people that should have died in this fucking show. I want to mention that. It's like, I really like this show, but nobody dies. The only one who dies is fucking Geen, and it was like I kind of saw that shit coming from a mile away. I'm like, okay, well he's not actually evil, whatever. And it was still sad, but it's like we should have got a whole flashback episode of what happened because it was like just fast forward. Like, why does he want to, you know, uh, get rid of Aizen for Rangiku, and where's their thing, like how did they meet, obviously he kind of took care of her a little bit, they were in love with each other, whatever, but it was just so rushed, and it was like I saw that shit coming literally a mile away, but then that shit was hype as hell when Ichigo comes through, powered as super powered as fuck, but I just, just thinking about it, like, kind of logically, that fucking shit was weak as hell. Like, if I'm gonna be 100%, where it was just like, I want some people to die at least, like, where it's like, people are getting ran through and it's just like they're fine. I just wanted some stakes. Basically, that's it. Like where it's just like nobody fucking dies. I thought Ichigo's dad might die. When he was fighting Aizen, I thought some shit like that would happen. Like it would be pretty big because Aizen doesn't really kill anyone. Except for Kaname, basically. Well, and I guess he kills Gin, but so he's like the only one that kills, like finishes on whatever. But that was just something I noticed where I was like, because there's so many members. Like, kill a lieutenant, kill a fucking guy who's like raise your head Wabisuke, which by the way, Wabisuke's like a fucking cool ass weapon. I like that. Like, and when he slices that dude's head off, like the beak dude, whatever his fucking name is, was cool as hell. Like where he's like, just chops his head off. That shit was clean. But and I liked him too. It's not like I wanted him to die, but it's just like someone, something where it was like, damn, that hits hard, where it hits you, where it's like, I thought, now this is on me, like 100%, I thought Rukia was gonna die because I couldn't remember, like, a lot of these shows I kind of know, like, oh, the character, like these characters, whatever, I think they make it, whatever, but I could not for the life of me remember ever hearing anything about Rukia past, past the arc, with that. So I'm like, oh my god, she gonna die. Like when he goes to steal her Okioku, no, the Hokioku, yeah, that's it. Um, and he like, was gonna. I thought he was really gonna kill her, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is fucking insane. And no, that's not what happens. But I really thought she was gonna die in that moment. Like I actually had that thought where I was like, okay, that shit would have been crazy. I'm not saying I wanted her to die. Once again, I really didn't. She's cool. Oh, also, I want to mention that I remembered it. I appreciate how not everyone in this has Bankai. I don't think Rukia has Bankai, and also the Wabisuke guy doesn't have Bankai and all this shit. So they did explain like that. It's very hard to get. Whatever, it takes like 10 years. So I did appreciate that not everyone just had it, but yeah. So I'm trying to think of like anything else. Some other shit I know will pop in my head, but uh oh, Ichigo's sisters. I really like them. I wish we had some more with them in Ichigo. Like that, thing with the when he's becoming a hollow and he's freaking out and she's like and his sister's like, I know you're, not a soul reaper, but I know you go out and you do this, whatever. And he's just like, and he kind of pushes her aside and he's like, I gotta go, whatever. That shit was so cool. Like I just really liked their dynamic. And when they revealed his dad was going to be a Soul Reaper, I was very surprised he was a Soul Reaper. Um, I knew, like, because obviously something's with his heritage. Like, he's just getting shit way too fast. He had the Soul Reaper power hidden inside of him. Um, all this shit. So I just kind of knew that, like, there was something with that, but I didn't know necessarily what. I should have seen it was the dad or something like that, but I didn't. So that was something where I was like, okay, that surprised me. But then once again, we don't get an explanation, which was some bullshit. But either way, I'm trying to think. Um, if I had to pick, no, I'm just trying to think of anything else real quick. I know there's something that's like something in the back of my mind that I'm like forgetting. Oh, I did have a question actually. I don't know if like I missed this explanation, but I was wondering how people are born in the Soul Society, right? Because they show Rukia getting in there and she's like a baby and then she grows up, but it's like you die to get in the Soul Society. So how are you really born there? And then it's like how do you grow up there if if you died when you're like a baby or whatever, do you grow up because that like it's just weird. Like no, I was just very curious about that. Like, and I know like there's some explanation for it. I just don't really know what it. That was like something I was just wondering. Not a huge deal or anything like that. Um, the Soul Society, by the way, like when they first go to the Soul Society, that shit is so fucking bland. Like just all the same like corridors and shit. Um, Mayuri's easily the worst captain. Like such a piece of shit. I actually wanted him to die. How he treats his fucking lieutenant is disgusting, dude. And but when he kills that Iran car and he like makes it look like it's 1,000 years, that was some shit where I was absolutely like, um, just that was so cool. Where he just like it's 1,000 years for, for you, but for me it's just a few seconds. And he's like, kill me, like that shit was so clean, so clean. Um, yeah, so that was just so cool when he did that. But otherwise, like, he's like easily the worst captain, and it makes like the 13 Court Guard squad in the Soul Society look really bad for even having him as a captain with how fuck shit he's been doing. And then they showed he was actually a prisoner in the flashback. So that was some shit where I was like, he's easily the worst captain. But see, I didn't completely hate him. Like well, no, I did hate him, but not as like get off the screen, just like piece of shit. But yeah, so I'm just trying to think of anything else. Uryu and Chad, they like are the unsung heroes. I gotta say, like they're there from the beginning till the fucking end, dude. And Chad is so cool. I love Chad. I was pissed off when they recast his voice actor. I knew it immediately. I was like, okay, they did that. They also recast fucking Kenny, forgetting his full name. That shit was annoying as hell, and they recast him with Ichigo's dad. That one they did recast with Ichigo's dad. I'm certain. That was so fucking annoying. That's some shit where it's like that's why I don't watch English dub because it's like the same six voice actors for everything except for the main characters usually don't voice anybody else, which I appreciate because then it's like but it's like you can tell, you can basically tell. But either way, so that was something where I was really annoyed. But when Chad was first recast, I was really upset because that like origin story with Chad and Ichigo, where they're like, if you ever have something that you want to fight for, I'll fight for it with my life as well. Like, we'll fight each other's battles basically. And that's why I went to the Soul Society and everything like that. That shit was so cool. That was so cool. And then he just gets recast and everything, but he doesn't really talk that much. So I ended up like just kind of glazing over it in the long term. Towards the end, when he was with Ichigo, like he finally, he's talking more, whatever, and Ichigo loses his powers, and him and Orihime, how they were just like, we kept practicing because we knew one day your powers would return. That was so cool to me, like, because I'm like, damn, they just went on without him, but then they're like, no, it was for, it was for you, like, so we can be by your side. That was so cool. But that's what I'm saying. It's just like we got fucking this guy, and then we don't have anyone actually for any like or you or chat. But either way, uh, just something off the top of my mind. Trying to think of anything else here. I don't have too much of. I can't record for too much longer. I feel like I'm gonna remember something and be like, "Oh damn, I really wish I put that in there," but I unfortunately I just don't have the time. Maybe I'll make a part two, depending if I like actually remember some shit I want to say. But um, anyway, so that show, like I said, was amazing. I actually have a 1,000 Year War coming. I think it's in the it came in the mail today. I haven't gotten it though yet, but really good show. We'll be watching that. Just had some unanswered questions that I think is some bullshit. Just so like that's probably the biggest thing for me where it was like you literally set up the question of, where's Ichigo's dad come from, whatever, and then you don't answer it at all. And that was some shit where I was like, that's fucking ridiculous. And then also real quick, him with the Soul Reaper, the guy's a substitute Soul Reaper, and then revealing that he was the first substitute Soul Reaper, and they like watch you and they do all this shit. Felt a bit retconny, but then sorry, I gotta end this real quick. But it was cool at the end where he was like, I want to bury him. Like he calls a captain's meeting basically, and they all show up and they're just like, how can you ask that? Whatever. And it's just like he's like, give me the fucking body, basically. He's like, you've done all this shit to me, like just give me give me the body. That was such a cool moment. But either way, that's about it for this video. Peace.